Hello everyone. Today we're just gonna go over some cards that were added from set 9 coming in February that can make the old school androids a little bit better. So we'll go in that mono green deck basically. It's pretty fun aggro with some ability to control the game. First also we have the original 17-18 leader. The reason why we use this is because on both sides reduces the energy cost of all Android 17 and 18 cards in your hand by 1. It is worth mentioning that you still have to pay the energy cost. So for example, the first card in the deck, this is our counterattack card. You would still have to play 1 green regardless, but that's fine. That doesn't matter for him. It's gonna matter for some of our later cards. Also, on both players' turns, all your 17-18s have plus 15. This awakens at 6 life, so pretty early you can start drawing your cards too. So that's what I like about this. The first card in the deck, of course, as we mentioned, is a 1 cost counterattack, negate attack, and play this card. And then auto, if your leader card's an android and you play this, choose 1 battle card from your energy cost 4 or less with android in its name. I don't know, I said android twice, wow. I don't know what I'm doing. It's early in the morning, but whatever. And placing your drop here and shuffle your deck. So this is used mostly for later on. You'll notice we have some overwhelm in this deck, and also just some of our weaker androids that we don't need as much we can ditch from the deck so that we just draw more gas. But mostly this is a combo card and it's a negate. We're an aggressive deck, so we don't want cards that don't give us combo power, so that's why it's here. And in theory, this is a 9k. It's less than a 10k, of course, but it's a 9k for 1 in this deck, as opposed to most of the counter attack that you play are 4 and 5ks, so that's relevant here. Next we have 3 of the Gohans that help with a self-awakening, and it's a crit card. So you'll notice a lot of cards in decks have crit, so our goal is to mess with our opponent's hand in a deck like this. They're going to have to combo out to not take the crit, or they're going to lose that life to the drop. So they're not going to get the draw, quote-unquote, of the life. This is useful because we need to get to 6 life to awaken and start drawing with our leader, and then to 4 life to start getting the plus 5k perk. 3 copies of this Dr. Giro. It's basically a chomp in our deck, but the cool part about it is the combo. So the damage step, it only gains 5k, but during the actual battle, either the attacking, the offense step, because you're doing this on attack, it's getting another 5k there too. So it's also green, so we can charge him if we need to. So that's why we picked that over Champa. For Paragus, yeah, it's not Android, it doesn't matter. We don't get any perks for having Android super combos. It's the best green a super combo. So 2 preemptive strike. So even though we're fairly aggressive, we do have some lines where we can be the control player, and I'll mention those later. But also it's a way of stopping the topos auto from triggering, because we are going to have fairly wide boards. So just paying 2 in the mid to late game to stop the topo from coming into play can help. You can also stop other players' shenanigans. 4 copies of this new Android 18 from set 9. So right away, the big thing about this card is it's a 20k for 3, but in our deck it costs 2. So 20k for 2 with crit and barrier, that's hard to deal with. And if we're at 4 life, it's a 25k. Now, that's pretty strong if you ask me, so I really like it. It's one of the main reasons to go in this deck, and it's a great addition to the deck. Just to mention that the 17 is also a star deck card that's coming out with set 9, so these are both new additions to the deck. Next we have Artificial Impact, 2 copies. So once again, we don't want to have a lot of cards that don't go towards our aggressive line, but this is very useful because it deals with a lot of threats, deals with barrier annoying stuff, deals with blockers, and it makes our opponent drop a card. And finally, at the worst case scenario, it's 5k power to one of your battle cards. So that's pretty relevant right there. But only 2 copies because you may be playing 1 a game. And then another great card for the deck. This deck was this card already existed before, but it's a Deadly Defender. Another barrier card. Yes, I know it's at 9, a lot of anti-barrier stuff's coming out, but still nice ass barrier against some of the classic counter plays. So basically it's a 20k during your turn. In this deck it costs 2, not 3. And during your opponent's turn it's going to lose 5k, but they have to swing at it before they can swing at your leader. So this is when we start getting to that territory of, hey, maybe we're going to be the control player in the matchup. We're going to sit on an army of Deadly Defender 18s and hold up our negates. The great thing about her is, yes, she becomes a 15 on our opponent's turn, but if we're at 4 life, she's a 20 on our opponent's turn. So right away, we're forcing our opponent to combo just to get past her. A lot of our battle cards are going to be 20k plus, which is hard to deal with. Next we have 2 17s that have crit, so another crit card. One of the great things about this card is you can pay 1 green. If your opponent has sent a battle card which costs 3 or less from any area due to one of your skills to their drop, you can pay 1 to play a 18 that's 3 or less, which all of our 18s are 3 or less. So we're playing them for 1 energy now, and crit does count as a skill of yours. So if you swing at your opponent with one of these crit boys we got here, and they send a 3 drop or less battle card with that crit, you just activated this effect. You can play one of your 18s. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 copies of 18. So a fair enough amount, and for 1 is a great deal. Next we have 18, only 2 copies of her. She's the weakest of our 18s. She does have the ability to start KOing battle cards. This is the other side, where if we hit 4 or higher, we can start messing with their 3 or lesses. So it's another way. Removal costs 1, so 1 for removal like that is great. And then we have 4 17s. And keep in mind, all these cards cost 2 or less in our deck, other than our 2 of impact so far. This 17 is also cost 2 for us. It's a blocker, then our turn switch to active mode, so we can use it offensively and defensively. It's only a 15 at first, but just like every other card in this deck, it's boosting up to 20. Doesn't have barrier, which is on the weaker end, but it's still very strong for us. It lets us play a very control-y matchup. So between these 17s, Deadly Defender 18s, we can swing at our opponent with our leader, swing with our 18, swing with our 17, 17 restands, and we could just hold up our negates if we want. So that's a good potential there for us. We have one of the 3-drop cell. This is, let's say we're in a controlling match where our opponent's just keeping their hand for some reason. They're drawing a lot. Something's happening where we can't get rid of their hand. This is where the cell chain comes in. It's only a 7 card slot into this deck, so it's not bad. We can side it out in matchups where we know our opponent's hand is going to be low. But with how many 17, 18s we have, there's no reason not to run this one of. Next we have 2 of these Gohan, so this is all about helping us get to that 4 life total. Just easy turn 1, because we don't have a lot of Android turn 1 plays. It's basically the 1-drop Gohan or this, and we start manipulating our life total. Next we have 3 of the 5-drop cells. This is obviously, you charge this if it's in your hand instead of in your deck. But other than that, it's a fair card. If you want, you can even play it in the late game to go up the chain. But by then, your opponent's hand should be small enough where it's not the best line for you. But keep in mind, you do have that option. Next, 3 copies of the 7-cost cell. So once again, this stuff gets side out in certain matchups, but doesn't hurt to have it. And finally, we have our black package. We have 2 dark absorption mirrors. We are an Android leader, so we can actually do our union absorb. Then we have 3 Toas, so the point is because we need Toas to go with our mirrors. And why wouldn't we use the best Toa for us? We're a green leader. We're going to make our opponent discard. We're going to give our leader plus 5k. So that seems like a great win to me. So basically in the early game, you're going to do this to mess with your opponent's hand. They're going to get warped, and then in the later game, we have the mirror option. We can even do the mirror in the early game if we want to. Unfortunately, he is not a green android, so it doesn't work with our Dr. Zero for the double strike, but he's still a solid 1 damage to our opponent in the early game. We only have 2 copies of that and the absorption because realistically we're playing one of these a game, while the Toa we're going to play it as often as we can. So that's why we don't want to go too hard on these because they become dead in our hand too quickly. That's pretty much the main deck. Realistically, the goal is to get your opponent's hand low enough where they just get completely dominated by the absorption. And in theory, you could also sell chain into absorption in the late game and really punish your opponent, because if this was played using the Union Absorb, then your opponent is going to have to send 3 cards from their hand to their warp, and also gains double strike. So that's pretty good. Now onto our side deck. So we have 2 copies of this new set 9/16. We're not going to get the second effect off because we don't have a yellow energy, but the main thing is he can KO ignoring barrier 2 costs or lesses. Gets rid of a lot of annoying blockers, gets rid of Tau, which is relevant in this deck when we're playing 3 Toas. So that it's really helpful against those things. You can also get rid of some of the smaller little things that enable other strategies. 3 Black Massaians. So of course, Hot Shock matchup is super annoying because we want to go wide and we can in this deck. We don't really have dual attacking in this deck, so this will help us deal a lot of Hot Shock's board spam. It's also another way of controlling our life total. Good against some other wide board state stuff too, so that's worth mentioning. 2 Toas, so this is another Toa for our deck. It's also a response to the Gogeta Surge Piccolo decks. I'm very aware of the fact that they also can ramp into 21. I don't think this deck cares about that though, for 2 reasons. Number 1, this is an aggressive deck. Number 2, they can't run 16s, they have to run objection ramp because of Gogeta's attack power. So if they're running objection, that's a -2 from hand to ramp, and even then that lets them play 21 on turn 7. Turn 6 they could use their surge ability, and if they play second objection, maybe turn 5. So that's a lot of minuses. When you add in the fact that they're minusing that many cards, and the fact that we're towing them and stuff, they're not going to have a good time. You're going to kill them a lot of time before 21 comes out, and even if 21 does come out, a lot of our costs 1 and 2. We're going to be back in the game right away. So, for that hypothetical situation, I think you still have a fair shot at winning the game, even if they somehow did get 21 off. But the main thing is, with crit, we're enabling their Gogeta sparking. So they can Gogeta very early against us. So we want to have an out for that Gogeta. So that's what Toa gives us. 3 copies of Haru Haru. Very good against a lot of decks right now. It's green and yellow leaders, so it works against Surge Piccolo if we just want to advance our board more. It's another crit. It works against all the aggro decks like the Baby and the Broly, so that's relevant there. It even works against the new Surge Goku deck. Like all these new leaders people are hyping up and some of the old powerful leaders, this is just another way to go through our turns and spam our board and just get that working. Next we have Tien. There's a lot of blue leaders trying to do things with Sensu Bean. One issue with this deck is in the early game when we have 15k, Sensu Bean does prevent a lot of our guys from swinging. So we want to basically make it where they can at least untap with the Sensu Bean using the Tien. And of course other things like Dimension Magic. And finally 2 Fus. Against Hot Shock we need to punish them a little bit more. Against control in general, it's just useful. There's other modifications you can make to this from the side depending on the meta, but I just want to highlight a few little things that are going on that you can do to answer. For example, if at the end of the day you realize I don't care about the Gogeta match, you can just remove these Toas because you don't need it. Then you could add in something else that you might need. Maybe you have a few more problems with Topo than you expected, so you want to add in 2 Taos. But the way I see it is, when you're playing around Topo, you're going to do the preemptive strike line to stop the Topo auto more than you're going to do the Tau line. But that's just me. If you really want to sure up your topo matchup, feel free to do that. You can also minus one of some of these 3-ofs that you're not feeling. For example, against Broly, the Haru is weaker because they have Cold Bloodlust, so you might only want 2 Harus instead of 3, since that's a match where it's less used. You might only want 2 Power Mass Saiyans, since maybe you're like, oh, I also have the Fu for the Hotshot matchup. I only need 1 Black Power out against them. I'll see it often enough, whatever your reasons are. So if you needed to really make room for Taos, even if you don't want to remove the Toas, there is a room there removing those cards. I would say keeping the Tien at 3 is proper for now. Even if there aren't as many blue leaders, people still bring Janeba to the table because it steals matches. People are just going to keep bringing that deck for now, even with Hotshot in the meta. Even they can do some siding against Hotshot, so why not play an easy deck that can steal a game if people are unprepared? So you should bring the Tien at 3 anyway, just to punish those players. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was an informative video. I hope this gets some passion to play androids again. Very straightforward deck, very energy efficient, and it really punishes hands. The deck does lack a little interaction with the opponent, so if you really wanted to, you could adjust some of these numbers and make it work and go a little bit more controlly than even I did. But whatever you do, have fun, everyone. Have a great day. Tomorrow I will be doing my, well, I guess today now, I'm going to be doing my expansion sealed at my locals. So I'll probably do a video on how I did and how I built my deck. So that you guys could see some limited discussion. And then after that, well, we might look at some of the Chicago Regionals top decks and discuss their building, their strategies, tweaking, with some great things they did, some clarifying, maybe some decisions that might have gone into making these decks that newer players might not understand. So, see y'all next time. Bye.